Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to Voiceover Casting Corner. My name is Kelly Moshinsky. I'm the owner and head of casting here at the Voicecaster.
And I'm Kathryn Horan, Voicecaster Senior Casting Director.
So today we have a special treat for you. We want to talk about audition preparation. So obviously auditions are your number one job as a voice actor. If you don't like auditioning, you're in the wrong business. Auditioning is such a huge part of it. It's like you audition, and hopefully eventually book a job, right? So you got to be auditioning. So we're going to talk about kind of the ins and outs of auditions. How much is too much preparation? There is such a thing as too much. How much is too little? So yeah, let's get started.
Yeah. So yeah, one of those sides of the coin is, is there such a thing as too much preparation? And yep, there sure is. It's very easy if you work on something too much to get stuck in a certain read or a certain pattern, or you're making the same choices over and over again. So if someone were to come in and direct you, it might sound kind of rote or over rehearsed. You're not able to be as flexible or moldable as you might otherwise be, because you've gotten it in your head. So it's so firm in there, it's supposed to sound a certain way, that it can be hard to get out of that. It can be hard to find different takes. If you're trying to send 2 or 3 different options, if you've over rehearsed it, you're probably just going to be reading it that same way 3 times, or only just subtle variations on what you've been rehearsing. So it can be dangerous to work on something too much, because you don't want to get stuck in a particular read. You do want to be able to be flexible and open to new ideas or direction that might come your way.
Yep. And there's a few ways you can kind of battle that too. It's like, if you do find like, oh no, I over rehearsed, well, then what can you do to get yourself out of that? Do a take where you're like doing something crazy, some cartoony voice, or do a take where you sing the whole thing, or something just to kind of break it up. And that can kind of get you out of that over rehearsed feel as well. So something to keep in mind. And then of course, too little preparation. Of course there's too little preparation. I have had people walk into auditions where they're just like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just going to read it. Well, you know what happens when you just read something and see what happens? Sometimes there are good instincts. Sometimes it just sounds like the typical commercial, right? Or it sounds like you're reading it. Yeah, it doesn't sound authentic. It doesn't sound like it's coming from anywhere. You haven't made any of your choices in terms of acting. It's who are you talking to? Why are you talking to them? You haven't made any of those choices. Sometimes people don't even know what they're reading for. I have had people full on do auditions, and I'm like, do you know what that was for? And they can maybe tell me the product name, but can they tell me anything about the product? No. It's like, I had somebody think something was a cosmetic, like a makeup or hair care thing, and it was actually a delivery service. And it was like, those are completely different things. So it's like, if nothing else, you should at least do enough research to know what you're reading for. Whether it's commercials, animation, video games, doesn't matter. Do a little bit of research, know about the company, know about the product, know about the game, know about the show, the network that it's on, anything like that. You have to know at least the basics in order to have a good foundation.
Delivery.
Yeah. Exactly. It makes such a huge difference.
Yeah. And like Kelly was saying, this works for animation and video games too. You might not think of that right off the top of your head, but yeah, a commercial for, or an animated thing for like Disney Junior or Nick Jr., those characters are going to be different than Adult Swim. So knowing the different kind of feels of those different things, or even just between Disney and Nickelodeon, those 2 channels have different feels and different kind of target audiences that they're going after. So knowing what your character could be for is very helpful. When you can find that out. Sometimes things they try to keep it secret, but when you can find those things out, definitely use that to your advantage. Do that research, get a little insight, because that might color how you create a character, what kind of delivery you might do. It might be more over the top and animated, or it might be a little more grounded, and then knowing who your audience is. That's all good stuff to know.
Yeah. It's just do a little bit of research. We're not saying you have to spend a half an hour on every script. It's like a quick Google search and 30 seconds will probably give you what you need. And then from there, it's let your acting instincts take over. It's like you're going to make those choices and those decisions, and it comes down to the acting. But, being informed makes such a huge difference.
A little prep.
So what about watching or listening to previous spots?
Yeah.
That's a tricky one, right? I mean, it's like yes and no, because we certainly don't want to have a phone ringing in the background. So we certainly don't want to fall into the trap of doing what they've done previously, because they're casting for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to keep in mind the fact that they are looking for a new voice. If they wanted the same thing that they had done previously, they'd probably just go back to that person. So don't do what you're hearing on all of the previous spots. Be you. I feel like I've said that a bajillion times in my life, but be you. That's what we want to hear. It's you. Yeah. Exactly. So, it
could be good too to just get a little insight onto maybe what the kind of feel that they tend to go for. Like maybe they have a certain aesthetic that they like to do, or a certain type of voice that they like to hear. So it can give you, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it helps add. Maybe you want to take that is in that vein.
Yep.
But definitely don't be married to it.
Well, and you can listen to music and stuff too. Like if you're talking commercial, it's like listen to the music. They might have similar peppy, upbeat music for every single thing. That might also give you a hint into what direction to go. Or, if it's animation and they're saying they want it really natural and real, and you watch a little bit of an episode of the show and you see like, I don't know, these cartoons, like these characters are pretty cartoony, then you have that permission to give a take like that. So, doing enough research that it can help you make those informed decisions, but not getting stuck ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. And then talking a little bit, now I know so much has gone virtual and you're recording at home, but every so often, if you're lucky, you might be called to go to an in-person audition. So what kind of things do you need to know to prepare for going actually into a place? Or maybe it's a callback. Maybe you audition from home and they want to bring you into the studio for a callback. So just basic stuff. You would think everyone would know this, but be on time. Take time to look at the copy if you can beforehand. Hopefully you've had this before you get there to the studio, or if not, hopefully you're there a few minutes early so that you have the time to look at the copy before they call you in, so that you can look it over, read it out loud a few times. Don't just read it to yourself in your head. Read it out loud, because there is a difference. It'll always be different the first time you actually verbalize it than just reading it in your head. So doing those kinds of things, making your choices, kind of having an idea of, okay, maybe I'll do one take like this and one take like that. Just kind of have a little plan of what you want to do.
You can't always just rely on the director. Mm-hmm. Like we've had people come in where they're like, I haven't looked at it. I'm French. Like,
oh my God,
what to do? And it's like, you have to have some instincts. You have to make some choices. That is your job as the actor. So, it's like you can't fully rely on the director to do all the work. Yeah. We will redirect you. We will give you direction. We will help you through it. But you have to. And if the
director gives you direction, don't argue with them about it, because they may know what they want. They may have certain things they're going for. And if you're like, no, I don't want to do it like that. Well, maybe there's a reason behind it.
Especially if we're casting it.
Exactly.
I always love when people argue with us about direction when we're the ones casting it. It's like, no, really. Like, no. I've seen the rough cut. Like, no, really. I know what the music is. Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. And it's a collaborative process. So it's like, we're always open to your ideas, but don't come in expecting us to have everything, you know, lined up for you and just tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Give and take. We're working together. We all want everyone to sound good. So.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we have to, you know, it's like
We want you to book the
we're
job.
a team, you know, it's like casting and actors, we're on the same side.
Yeah.
We want you to book the job. You book the job, it makes us look good, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yep. In fact, I got a great email this morning that was just that. They had done 4 rounds of casting with a different casting place, did 1 round with us as kind of a last ditch effort in hopes to find something, and they have a short list of 4 people, and they're like, thank you so much, this is amazing. And I'm like, yes, you know, it's that collaboration, it's working with people, so we love that. All right, do you guys have any questions as far as the audition process or anything like that? I'm going to go over and look at the comments here. Hi, Lakes. Hi, Mimi. Hi, Katie, Danielle, Susie, Holly. Holly says, I like auditioning. Is that weird? No, it's a good thing. That's a good thing. Some people love it. Some people like it for a while, and then they're just kind of over it. Danielle likes auditioning too. That's good. Hi, Kever. Joel. Dominic, glad to be here on a rainy day. It is a rainy day. It's so nice. It's like cozy.
Yeah.
Hi, Annie. Yes. And so Annie says the trickiest is when you know absolutely nothing about the company because it's so deep in NDAs. Yep. In that situation, you just do your best educated guess. And that's where instincts are probably really going to take over, because sometimes they really don't tell you anything about it. We have a project we're working on right now that is using code names, and they have stripped the scripts and everything of any indication of what it is. So, all right, and let's see. Yep, Danielle, it sounds like they have to have a balance, be prepared, yet be flexible. Absolutely. It's all about the balance. Oh, hey, Joe. I'm not jaded yet. Just want to get in the booth and create something. Yes. Yeah. It's a great industry. You know, like there's so many great people. It's like try not to be jaded, you know. Oh, did I lose Kathryn?
No. There
we go. I lost you for a second. And then there were 2 of you on my end. I was like, wait,
oh,
I see
weird.
2 Kathryn.
I wish I had 2 of them.
There's still a second Kathryn there, but you're frozen.
Oh,
so.
no. Well, I should put her
Internet when it's raining is even crazier. So I apologize if we're going in and out at all here. Joel, what are your thoughts on play-to-plays, especially backstage? So backstage is a reputable company. You know, I don't know how much they have on there for voiceover. I know it's grown over the years. I think it was right when the pandemic hit, shortly after that they came out with a voiceover section of backstage, but backstage was always reputable before that as well. Might be one of the more reputable voiceover places, honestly. Pay to plays are just so
hit and miss.
It's tough, because I know a lot of people who are really successful with them. You know, so it's like I'm not here to bash pay to plays, but at the same time, they can be sketchy, and it depends on, you know, the things that you're auditioning for, if it's worth it or not. You know, it's really the biggest thing is referencing like the GVAA rate guide and things like that, just to make sure the rates are competitive. You know, it's like,
you don't want to be
like a national spot for a big brand and they're paying $200. Like, no, don't do that. But there can be some decent stuff on there. And I know of some people who have found like ongoing e-learning or narration and things like that through the pay-to-play websites, which
Definitely
pays their
seems to
bills.
matter.
You know, they work full time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think Backstage seems to be a good place to start because I know it's a reputable company. So I think they at least do some, maybe more vetting than some of the other pay-to-play websites, which can be a little iffy. The biggest thing is making sure that you're protected, and like not recording the full script or not sending it as a WAV file, making sure that it's just MP3 audition quality, so it's not something they can take and use, things like that. But really, it's the protecting yourself on whatever website it is. All right. Let's see, Mimi, is it still a good rule to go over the top in one take? I wouldn't necessarily say over the top, but I would say personality, so it's like having a big personality. It's like letting your personality come through, going a little outside the specs, things like that. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. It's like,
Weird just to be
especially if it works for the script. But exactly what Kathryn just said, don't do something just for the sake of being different. Make sure that it still works. And if they really are hitting, conversational, authentic, relatable, all of that, then obviously you don't want to do like a game show host or something like that, just to be different. So
use your best judgment.
Yeah, for one take. Yeah. And that's fine. It's like, it's one of the biggest things that I listen for in casting is a difference in energy and pacing. Those are probably like the two main things that I'm listening for when I'm listening to different takes. If somebody's sending 2 or 3 different takes, I want to make sure that they can go faster or slower. I want to make sure that they can have a little more energy or a little less energy, because you know what happens as soon as you get in the session? They don't care about who you're talking to. They don't care about any of that. They need you to go faster or they need to go slower. They need you to have more energy or they need you to have less energy. So it really is one of those things where it's like, it's kind of a technical way to look at it. But hopefully that is coming from somewhere that is authentic to you as well. Great questions.
I was listening to a casting the other day, and there were some great reads, but all takes sounded exactly the same. I was like, well, I'm not going to pass you along to the client because you seem to just be able to do this one thing. So yeah, showing that variation in pacing or energy, that's great. Just to, it doesn't have to be crazy, but just show that you can change it a little bit.
Even if everything else is the same, if you do a take that's 3 or 4 seconds faster, things are going to just naturally shift, even if you don't change anything else in your read except for the pacing. So I think people kind of underestimate that. And they also think, like, oh, well, I have to have a different person I'm talking to. I have a different intention. I have to have a different attitude, and it's like, sometimes if you just switch one thing, everything changes. So yeah, it all falls into place. Good. All right. Any other questions? Feel free to drop any questions in the comments there. It can be audition related or honestly anything voiceover related.
Yes.
Preferably. But yeah, we get questions all the time about the audition process, and it's when you're recording from your home studio and you don't have somebody else to bounce ideas off of, it can be so challenging to, like, am I doing it right? Am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? Most of the time, I would say most people tend to play it safe. And that's why the takes aren't very different. And that's why, the auditions aren't necessarily standing out. That's a big part of it, is because you're just kind of in this black hole by yourself, and sending these auditions into the void and not hearing anything. So, yeah. All right, let's see. Nigel, how do you feel about the audio being bass, treble, noise canceling? So if you tweak the audio, it's okay, but minimally. Keep it very minimal. You really don't need to do anything. Like most of the time, we just want the raw audio. If you need to normalize it, you need to bump the volume up because it recorded at a lower level, something like that. That's totally fine. But don't play with the audio too much. We have run into the situation where people have gotten booked for the job and then they don't sound like their audition or they don't sound like their demo. And obviously that can be problematic. So yeah, I think keeping it to a minimum, even like removing breaths and stuff, you don't have to do all of that. No,
yeah,
keep
they're not expecting it to be broadcast quality. Yeah.
Yeah. It does not have to be, you don't have to do full post-production on it. You keep it simple. Keep it easy on yourself, really.
Exactly.
All right. And let me see here. Suleika, I had an audition from you. It was bilingual. I didn't do it because it said English neutral. Can I email you to verify if I can audition having accent? Yes. Anytime you have questions, feel free to email us and ask. It's like you can email your agent or whoever you got it from. You can also email us directly. Obviously, we do get tons of emails, so it's like we don't necessarily respond instantly, but we will respond ASAP and answer any questions we can about the auditions for sure. I know what project you're talking about for where they wanted unaccented English and unaccented Spanish. So on that one, it kind of depends on the amount of accent. I did submit a couple of people who had a slight accent. So it just kind of might be project dependent. All right. Ooh, good question, Susie. What percentage are male versus female in bookings?
I feel like it's kind of even, but
it's definitely getting more even if it's not already even. I mean, I feel like a lot of times it could go either way. If they say they're like open to any gender, it's like I feel like it could go either way most of the time now. It's like we are moving into a day and age, which is great, where it's like we don't have the gender stereotypes like we used to even 5 years ago. So yeah, I feel like it's getting a little bit more even. Yeah, it used to, of course, be male heavy, but yeah, that's not the case anymore. So
we're even seeing women read on stuff that I can't tell you how often we get stuff where they want a sports announcer and they want to hear male and female.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh. And then I have to really think. I'm like, what women can do sports announcing? And it's like, oh, that's kind of tricky because typically that wasn't something women read for, and you got to dig a little deeper. But that's awesome.
Cars, home improvement, like all that kind of stuff is opening up to women now.
Yeah.
Yay, girl power. Nigel, yeah, I try to limit my breaths. Most people do try to limit their breaths. So don't feel bad about that. That is something most people do. Unless they don't realize like you don't have to worry about all that. All right. Oops. What did I click on? All right. Let's see. I know you've spoken on this, but seeking a bit more specific of an angle. Here, I'll pull this one up. Oh, why is it not clicking? Oh. There we go. All right. I know you've spoken on this, but seeking a bit more specific of an angle. Are you more likely to cast someone with 2 takes that are more typical and expected for the piece, but sound just like everyone else, versus someone who throws a strongly different take in for the second one, even if it doesn't align with the specs and may seem a bit out there for what was sought, but shows range? Good question. So this is a very interesting question because it could go either way. Honestly, I think it depends on a couple of things. One, it depends on how outside the box it is. Again, if it's like singing the script when there's no indication of singing needed, then no, we would not want to submit that. If the 2 takes are very similar and more expected, but they are right on and exactly what we know the client is going to go with, we will absolutely submit that. But if it's like, if the 2 takes are very similar and we're like, this client likes to hear people's range, then we probably wouldn't submit that. A big part of it really does depend on the client and us kind of knowing the client and what they're going for on, which way we would submit. I would say most of the time, try to, again, going back to that pacing and energy, at least try to change that. So even if your reads are similar, going with something, where you just switch up the pacing, switch up the energy a little bit between the 2, you'll probably have a distinct enough difference and it'll still work within the spec. But also making sure that it's coming from someplace. You say typical and expected. And that's tricky because it's also like
that's not necessarily,
we're going to hear hundreds, sometimes thousands of the typical and expected. And so that's kind of the last thing we want to hear sometimes. Yeah. So it's a tough question to answer.
And
because it really does. Every project is different. Every voice is different. Every producer or client that we're working with is different. So kind of tricky to have just one direction.
Voiceover, there's not one set of rules. Everything changes from project to project, audition to audition.
And as soon as you feel like there's like rules, like, oh, okay, we're seeing this. This is like the trend. No, the trend changes. So
yeah. It'd be so much easier.
I mean, I am seeing more of a trend in the personality realm. I heard somebody talking about how like quirkiness seems to be something that's coming up more and more. And I'm like, yes. And we're seeing the personality, the imperfections, the things, the flaws, the things that make you real. Like that has been such a big part of what people want to hear. So Danielle said, what about mouth clicks? So if they're easy to get out, then you can take a few of those out. If they're disruptive, that's fine. If there are a few things here and there, no big deal. Don't stress about it. It's not going to make or break it. I agree, Kever. Kever said girls are versatile and awesome. Like having a baby, what worked 2 weeks ago doesn't work now. 100%, Susie. Yep. Yeah. As soon as you think you've got it down, everything changes.
I feel with slates and links.
Yeah. All right. So Holly said, so if they say 1 or 2 takes, is it better to just do 1 take if you're struggling to come up with something different, or always try another varying the pace? Always try another varying the pace. Yeah. Especially, it's if they say 1 or 2 takes, like it would be okay to just send 1. But I feel like if you just adjust the pace, you're probably going to have a different second take. And at least that's going to show a little bit of range for you versus the people who end up only sending 1. Yeah, quirky was what I was referring to. Nothing outlandish. Yep. You can have some fun with it. And that's really the biggest thing is like, finding the connection and really having fun with it. I think that's what you have to do. Like this is one of those jobs where like,
you can't have fun.
Pick a different career if you don't find auditioning fun. You have to love doing it and enjoy doing it and make it fun for it to really be worth doing.
You're creating something. You're being an artist.
Yep. Awesome. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I also want to mention, in addition to our lives every second Tuesday of the month, we are also every last Friday of the month releasing interview podcasts as well. So we have 2 of them up now where we interviewed Marsha Goodman and Bo Oliver. So make sure you check those out as well. And if you're not already subscribed to our podcast, you should.
That's right.
That's one of those things. hit the like button or hit the thumbs up and
like and
subscribe.
Yep.
You can tell my daughter is almost 4.
We're on Facebook, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So.
My daughter is almost 4, and there's a show on YouTube that she likes of a little girl, playing with toys and whatever. And she looked in the mirror the other night and she goes, "Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe."
Oh, no.
I was like, I need to get a video of her doing that just so I can put it on all of our podcast content, right? It's like, what is the world coming to? My son's like, she's going to be a YouTuber someday. And I was like, oh my goodness, she's 4. All right. So yes, Ben posted that in the comments as well. So make sure you follow along with us. And of course, we have so many things going on. I won't go into all of them, but we have all kinds of classes. We have all the awesome stuff happening at the Voicecaster Lab, including our membership, which is going amazing. So many good things. We're in our 2nd month with that now. And yeah, just such a great community, some amazing people. And yeah, so we've been having fun in there too, doing all kinds of things. Annie, yes, get her to do your outro. I'm gonna have to work on that. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions, so we won't keep you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we will all see you here very soon.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Have a good day.